Wellness Wednesday continues with our guest today, Vicki Laversa, the Eastern Nevada Behavioral Health Operations Coordinator, and in Outreach Partnership Development, it's Marianne McKnown, and they are both with Vitality Unlimited Program Services. What we wanted to talk about now, Vicki and Marianne, we can start with you, Vicki, is mental health in the workplace, right? Because the dynamics are changing. We went through a lot with COVID, and we see some people have exited, new people have onboarded. I mean, there's a lot to consider.
There is a lot to consider. I think as being caregivers and wanting to help others, we also have to help ourselves, and we have to help our coworkers. And if we see a coworker that's beginning to struggle, as evidenced by, maybe showing up late when they're usually on time, or missing more days from work due to illness, being a little short, being a little bit snippy with people, that we really have to reach out and say, hey, how are we taking care of ourselves? And Vitality Unlimited really has the ability and has policies in place for that work-life balance. Being able to say, hey, you're working this. This is a tough field. And so how do we take care of ourselves, and being able to support that time off and offering additional assistance should they need it.
You mentioned time off. It used to be that people would talk about workaholics as though it were a good thing, right? It's a way that people use to cope with other problems or issues they might be experiencing.
Absolutely. I think anything done obsessively is problematic. And speak to the spouses of those people that work too much, and definitely will cause problems within the home life. But yes, I think that, we have a young crew, and they're willing and they're able and they're enthusiastic, but we do have to remind ourselves that we will not be able to help anyone if we're down.
Thank you, Vicki. And Marianne, I wanted to switch to you for the topic of mental health in youth, because I know that you have a special relationship with children. Children just gravitate to you, and I know that you care about them a great deal.
I do. This past weekend, the Elko High School and Spring Creek High Schools got together and did their Mental Health Awareness Week. And on Saturday, they had a mental health fair. And the amount of teenagers that came over to my booth, and they picked up our coloring book. We have a coloring book that could fit in your back pocket, and it comes with pre-sharpened colored pencils. I almost always make sure that I have them at my outreach events. And all the teenagers picked them up. I thought, maybe they won't want them because they're teenagers and they think coloring books are for kids. But no, they picked them up more than the little kids do. And partly, I think, because it's an adult coloring book, so more intricate to designs. But they all really gravitated, and they were really excited to hear about the mobile therapy van and the services that we provided. I think young people today are much more prevalent and much more willing to talk about mental health needs that they may have, and not so stigmatized by it. I still talk to people today that get very concerned. I don't have any mental health issues. And I'm like, if you're alive and breathing, you probably have some mental health needs. Everybody goes through stress. Everybody has different issues going on in their life. And a mental health need, we've said before, is not necessarily a permanent issue. It's a need that you need to address. If you had a cold, you would go to the doctor. If you broke a bone, you would go to the doctor and have them set it. You wouldn't just ignore it thinking it's going to go away. And we need to start treating mental health the same way.
Thanks, Marianne. Marianne McKnown, Vicki Laversa from Vitality Unlimited Program Services. We're talking about the significance and awareness of mental health, taking care of yourself and your loved ones. The VIPs are at 775-777-8477. Thank you for listening to Wellness Wednesday today with our guest, Vicki and Marianne from Vitality Unlimited Program Services. And Vicki, I was hoping that we could talk about a diverse community and how we support those who might otherwise and already feel marginalized. And we do have people, including those of LGBTQ+, people of color, and anyone who has a disability within our community. And how do we make sure that they're best supported, Vicki?
We try to just make sure that we address all communities with decency and respect, adding the humanity to it, making sure that we have a wide array of staff that comes from so many different backgrounds, different experiences, different levels of training that really can address basically all needs that we have at this particular point in time. And so just making sure that we're out there, that people know about us, and that we can assist regardless of the circumstances. That would certainly.
We do know, Vicki, that sometimes access to services, that can be a barrier. I mean, people are not confident. Maybe they don't have insurance, or they don't have the identification. I mean, there are a lot of different reasons why people might not seek.
Absolutely. There's numerous barriers. One is really lack of understanding. Even how to begin. Where do I begin? What do I say? Who do I talk to? What do these initials mean? What does that initials mean? I mean, it can be really, really confusing at times. But, language can be a barrier. Finances can be a barrier. Marianne can speak more to that in that regard. But absolutely, we have the opportunity to maybe knock down some of those barriers, or at least to assist in being able to better manage them.
And especially, Marianne, if someone's timid about access, that's where the mobile therapy van comes into play.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you need access, if you have trouble reaching Elko, we have our mobile therapy van. But if financials are an issue, we take almost all private insurance. We take Medicaid and Medicare, which to me is very important, because a lot of times those who are on Medicare have a hard time finding providers. But we also have a sliding fee scale. So if you don't have insurance, or you don't know where to start, we do have a sliding fee scale that can help with things. You may be eligible for Medicaid, or your children may be eligible for Medicaid when you as an adult are not. It all depends on what your situation is, but we have somebody with us embedded from the state that comes into Vitality Integrated Programs Clinic and is at Vitality Center to help people navigate some of those Medicaid questions to see what's available.
Wraparound services. I know we've talked about them before. It's all available at Vitality Unlimited Program Services, located on Bluffs Avenue. That's the office suites above Walmart. 775-777-VIPS. That's 777-8477. We'll continue our Wellness Wednesday series with a focus on May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Our Wellness Wednesday segments continue here as we're talking with our guest in studio, Vicki Laversa and Marianne McKnown, and they're both from Vitality Unlimited Program Services, hosts of Wellness Wednesday. Every day of every month of every year is an emphasis on mental health, right, Vicki? That's another thing that we really want to emphasize, is the importance of mental health education in our workplace, in our schools, within our families. The ability to say, hey, I don't feel so good. Maybe I need to talk to someone.
Absolutely. And then having the understanding what to do when somebody does say, I have some issues and I'd like to talk to you. It's so hard to reach out in the very first part. A lot of people say asking for help is viewed as a weakness, and it really isn't. It really is a strength to be able to put aside our ego for just a second and go, what do I need? What am I struggling with? And then what do we do when somebody comes to us like that?
I remember talking to a young person recently who was feeling conflicted at school because they were saying that, there was a lot of emphasis on mental health education and awareness, but that they felt somewhat guilty because they said, well, I have a happy life and things are going well for me, but now I'm sort of feeling a little down in the dumps, right? And they wanted to be part of what was going on, Vicki. And that's also important to emphasize, right? That's a check-in on your mental health.
Absolutely. I think, empathy is huge, and we hope people have it, because then they'll be able to help out and reach those. But it's okay to be doing well, too. And I think feeling guilty for something that they haven't done isn't necessary. Enjoy what you have, but not at the, and understandably not at the expense of somebody else. But enjoy. You have the freedom to do that, and you have the freedom to be guilt-free because of that.
Oh, that's really nice. I'm glad you were able to address that. Marianne's smiling too, because you get that, right?
Well, and I think there's another perspective too. If your life is going really well, then you have the ability to take in the information and remember it and pass it on to that person that may not be doing well. All of the training that I've received, again, I'm not a clinician, but I've received a lot of different safe talk trainings. There's assist trainings. There are different trainings that are going on in the community that help you realize what you can't, to speak up, to say something. I've had people approach me when I'm not out there and have my Vitality shirt on, but they know I work for Vitality. So they say, well, my neighbor came up to me and they're having some issues, but I don't want to say the wrong thing. And Vicki touched on this. People are so afraid that they're going to say the wrong thing, when actually just reaching out and telling that person, I hear you and I see you and I understand you. You're not dismissing them. When you acknowledge that they're having an issue, that helps them right then and there. So, and then having that other knowledge of saying, hey, Vitality might be able to help you, here's their number, then they can reach out. They know that they have a support structure that they may have not realized that they had before.
Thanks, Marianne. So if anyone listening, you're on that doorstep, you know you need to make a change, you want to make a change, you want to be helpful to someone in your family. When we come up on our last break here, as we're talking about mental wellness, we'll talk about how to be part of that change and how to advocate for others, because that might be helping your own situation at the same time. When Wellness Wednesday continues. Wellness Wednesday continues as we're generating awareness and support during the month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month. That's official, but we just want to make it known that mental health awareness should happen every day of every month, all year long, and the whole community can really play an important role in this. And with Vicki, Laversa, Marianne, McKnown from Vitality Unlimited Program Services, and Vicki, we do know that community voices are important to advocacy and changes in policy.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of wonderful people here in the community who really wish to do well, and but maybe don't know how to do it. And so speaking to your leaders, I think, is a very important opportunity to say, this is important to us, and what are we going to do? How are we going to advocate for ourselves as a community that says these are the needs that are happening, and hold those accountable if they're not participating in the growth and the furtherance of well-being and as we move forward. And I think it's just such an important platform because we all experience it.
And there are resources that can be directed to us, not only in rural Nevada, but throughout the state. And in fact, talking with Marianne, who does all this important outreach, Marianne, you're aware of a very sad, it's a figure, it's a number, it's a statistic, but each one of these numbers has a person, an individual, a family, a community behind it.
Yes, I attend the Zero Suicides of Elko County every month, and the hospital gives us numbers, and unfortunately they've had 6 deaths by suicides in the last 4 months, which compared to last year there was only 1. So that is a huge increase. And at the meeting we all said, well, what happened? What happened in our community that all of a sudden that number went up instead of going down? Because it has been going down since COVID. And all I can think is, don't be afraid to call. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And also, if you see somebody who you think may be thinking about death by suicide, that ask them. It's not going to encourage them. If they're already thinking about it, you're not going to put the idea in their head. It actually is more likely to stop them from death by suicide than it is to encourage it. Also, call the resources that you know are available. If you're in Elko City, if you're at the college, if you're at a school, if you're at a business, you can call Vitality and say, hey, what do I do? And we can help talk you through it, or encourage you, hey, are they willing to talk to us over the phone? Because the other thing is, calling a crisis line, 86% of the time the person can be de-escalated over the phone. That is a wonderful thing, especially in a community where you could be out in Wells or on a ranch or in Montello. If your phone is working, you can still get them help that may be able to help them right away.
That life-saving number is 988.
Absolutely. That 988. You can also, if they're already a client of ours, if they're not a client, you can give us a call. And again, that's 775-777-8477.
Well, Vicki, that's a perfect place to end. Of course, this series, as we're talking about mental health awareness and availability and access for all. Thank you so much for the work that you do. It's so important. Marianne, thank you. We really appreciate Vitality Unlimited Program Services, 775-777-8477.